Hello, welcome to All Today. We are back after a very brief hiatus. How is everyone doing this week?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm fully vaccinated, so I got to cancel Comcast, got my 5G going. It is pretty sweet, not gonna lie.
What a coincidence. Same here. I bought
Yeah.
an Xbox Series SX3 too.
Oh, hell yeah. Look at that.
Yeah.
I didn't even need to have my vaccine to be a shill.
That's true. We are now the all Microsoft all the time podcast. This will come into play when we bash Sony relentlessly later.
Again.
Again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
uh,
forgot Setzer wasn't here when we turned this into a Nintendo slash Xbox fanboy podcast.
yeah, I said that we brought back the Wii 60 era of online shit posting. The Alliance is back, boys. Um, so I'm gonna do things a little differently. I'm actually going to start out this week instead of shifting it around.
Alright, well,
Uh,
whatever.
yeah, because I have things to bitch about. First, I want to talk about Monster Hunter Rise and Setzer's here.
Mm-hmm.
So I got that game and I put 45, 46 hours into it and I finished it or whatever is available, and I love it as a game. I think it is fantastic playing. There's nothing quite there's nothing quite like when you swing your great sword and hit a monster in the face and like you see like part broken and it recoils or something. It's just very soothing on a intrinsic level. I was kind of worried about this game because I got in the Monster Hunter with World because I'm a filthy casual, and I was worried this would play kind of like the DS games. But to me, this feels like a portable version of World. It's like one big map, no loading screens between stuff. Like you get in quickly, you get out quickly. If anything, it's a lot quicker than World because like I find monsters super fast. Most online missions take me like 15 minutes. So my one qualm with the game is that I feel like it's incomplete. They shipped a product that they want to update for free later on, and I do not like this, and I do not like that I seem to be the only person bothered by this. Because I looked online, and no, everyone's like, "So what? Just replay the game and use multiple weapons." But that's just not how I play games. It's hard for me to loop back to the additional content. I've moved on
Mm-hmm.
to other things, you know.
Can
Mm-hmm.
you explain what you mean by unfinished to someone who doesn't understand Monster Hunter?
The story, it's not important. First of all, I'm not going to tell you should pay attention to the Monster Hunter story. However, it ends on like a cliffhanger, and they're like saying like there's more to come, and then the quest giver says like, oh, but take a break. You've been hunting for a while now, and then there's just no more high rank quests to do, and you have like a whole tier of weapons you can't get access, and a whole you even have like a question mark on the weapon screen. It's like, oh, that's okay, and I don't know. It's weird. Like you don't have like any elder dragons. Like no Nier Gigante, none of that stuff. Like I think the highest, the hardest enemies I saw were Tigrex and um, Diablos.
Really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think it's a lot of fun, but I am just tired of this like games as a service trend. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
You realize that I asked you to explain this to someone who doesn't understand Monster Hunter, and then you quickly diverge into things that I have no idea what you're talking about.
well, okay. Let's say you're playing Final Fantasy VII, and it ends
Okay.
at disc two. That's what it feels like to me.
I
Like,
don't know. This two's a pretty good, strong place to
but
end.
yes, but it's like, hey, check back later to check out the Northern Crater and fight Sephiroth. You know?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess my thing was that when you explained that to me, my first thought was I didn't even think Monster Hunter had a story, so I was confused
Fuck
by
that.
that.
It's not worth paying attention to, and Rise
Yeah,
lets you
it's always
skip
a
that
bit of a
stuff.
joke. Even Capcom knows it's like, eh.
Yes, and I am not complaining that the story like doesn't end. That's fine. It's just like it feels incomplete. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like you could hear Cesar's reaction when I said like Diablos was like one of the highest ranked monsters. That's not how it should be, right?
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
able
I
to
mean
infer
he's
that
like
that
a
was a bad
lower
thing.
quartile monster in
Yeah,
most games.
yeah. No elder dragons, which is just strange. They do have like a final boss style battle. Uh, you get rank seven gear is the highest you get. I like
Hmm.
it, but I I really wish it was a completed game. Like I want more, but I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 2 months. Will I want to go back to Monster Hunter? I don't know.
Yeah.
Whenever you get a Switch and you inevitably get Monster Hunter, I'm sure I'll go back and because I want to maybe play like a longsword or something. But
Hmm.
it sucks. What can I say? And I
Yeah. Yeah.
wish more people were bothered by it. Like it's just excusing. Like I think my gut says they rushed it so they could get it out at the end of the fiscal year because it released in March.
Hmm.
So, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think most people just aren't bothered by it because most people play games where that's just the case, and we don't. So we're the weird ones.
It's like they're excusing it by saying like you just go back and play again with different weapons, which is fine. That's totally valid. But that's
Yeah.
just not how I play games.
It reminds me of when Diablo 3 came out, and the only thing would do is to play it on different difficulties. And I
Yeah.
had friends who would play it on normal, and then play it again on hard with a different class, then play it on, whatever, Nightmare or Hell. I don't remember what the difficulties are called. But that has never been my thing either.
I just don't relate to the people that have put in like 200 hours into the game already or something like that. I don't see what's fun about going and doing low rank quests with a new weapon again. It's just maybe I'm just playing it wrong.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. But that's okay. But did you have any questions about anything in particular with that game, Setzer?
How easy is it?
Honestly, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was afraid of.
I'm going to actually say there's like 3 difficulty levels. The single player mode, which is basically a joke, is a baby mode. They have hub quests, which are, I would say, inflate enemies up to like their Monster Hunter World style strength for single player, but they're better handled multiplayer. So that's low rank hub quests. And then high rank is, pretty much what you'd expect. Just you should take these with people, otherwise they'll take a long time. Even the ones that people said were hard, like Kezu for some reason, or Raphalos, really,
Come
really not
on.
hard. I know. I'm like, are you guys serious? They weren't really hard. The only monster to give me any trouble at all was Tigrex on high rank, and
Hmm.
they had one new one like this big bear looking guy with like ice claws. He's pretty cool looking, but they only gave me a little trouble, and it's not so much that I'm dying as that the people I'm partnering with online are dying because they're Japanese children, and
Hmm. Yeah.
so so you fail out a quest when other people die, which sucks. But
Yeah. Yeah. They're very reckless. I don't know what it is.
yeah, it's strange. But so I'll be curious whenever G rank inevitably gets patched in, and by patched in I mean charges us $30. But
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not 2 years or however long it was for World. So that was like, that's when the game starts getting fun, is when it starts getting challenging and you can put more skills on your character.
yeah, it's really not challenging. So Capcom has said they're doing free updates for a little bit, of course. So it might get some monsters that are tough patched in, but for right now, I love it, and it was a Game of the Year contender until this happens. So we'll see if I go back to it when new content arrives.
Man, that's really gonna kill it for you?
It kind of upset me. I don't think this is an acceptable business practice.
Yeah, I get you, but I mean, listen, by the end of this year, there might only be 5 games out, so are you
You're
really
right.
gonna
Yeah.
eliminate this one?
No, I'm not saying I'm eliminating it. I'm just saying like I was so high on this game. I was like loving every minute of
I
it,
remember.
and then I was just playing it Friday, and then I finished it, and then I'm like, oh well, I guess I'm done. There's nothing to do. There's no more quests. Like
Hmm.
I don't see the fun in like going and doing like these capture 3 easy ass monsters quests. Like they just take up more time. They're not hard.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing that irritates me about people who say, "Oh, just go back and play the same quests over and over, whatever," with Monster Hunter is, after a while, yeah, I will get bored of the same quests, and like the charms and the gems and all that is so laborious that it makes me like disengage from the game so quick.
Yeah, it's like grinding, honestly. I was doing some of that for high rank gear towards the end of it. I'm like, I don't really want to fight these monsters anymore, even if my weapons are different. Now,
Hmm.
for those that aren't familiar with Monster Hunter, replaying with different weapons is actually a different experience because they all play pretty differently. But at the end of the day, the monsters fight the same. So once you kind of learn how they fight, you can figure it out. I guess one other thing I should mention is that monsters like fight each other a lot more in this one than they did in World. They had that feature in World, and I feel like the
Hmm.
map was so big that it never really happened that much. And this one, pretty much every high rank hunt I had involved a monster interfering, which is hit or miss with me because sometimes I
Hmm.
don't want that. I just want to have to fight. They definitely cranked that up. I think people told them that was a cool feature, and they're like, "All right, we're going all in." So if you don't like that, there's they they're too bad.
Yeah, so now you have to watch that canned turf war animation 5 times per hunt, I'm sure.
Yeah, pretty much. The good thing is that the monsters don't attack you at all, so you can heal up during that. But
Yeah, but that just makes it even easier.
yeah, it really does. It really does. I guess we'll check back in a few months and see if I've still gone back to it. After that, I played Resident Evil 6, which we're going to talk about on a different podcast. Our me and Cheston do call Redemption Arc. But I'll just keep it short. I thought the game was surprising. It was not as near as bad as I had heard. And then finally, I want to bitch about a, a sports game thing. Forgive me.
Oh, uh-oh.
Shouldn't this fall
You're
under
on thin
news? You
ice.
haven't played this game.
Okay, fine. I'll hold it off for news since we're going
Thank
to
you.
be bitching about Sony later anyway.
That's right.
I guess I'm done for now. So
You're cranky today.
I am.
Piston
Well,
your Cheerios.
oh, Sony. I guess I got the Bill Gates vaccine, so
Oh,
I'm
someone
like,
tell Schreier.
I know Setzer, you didn't say you had a lot to play this week, so why don't you go next?
Yeah, I finally finished up Tyranny. This is a game I have very mixed feelings on. And I'm surprised how little my feelings on it evolved as I played it. Because the things I did not like at the start were the same things I did not like at the end. Which, typically, as I get more into a game, I kind of tend to soften on it. Or I get very frustrated with something the more I'm exposed to it. But in the case of Tyranny, it was, plateaued pretty early on. Having played Obsidian's other like top-down CRPGs, I like the gameplay of Tyranny a lot in certain aspects. It's much more free-form. You have a lot more control over builds, and you're not really constrained like a class, right? I really
Mhm.
like classless systems. A lot of your skills are tied into like, okay, what teammates did you bring with you? Who's in your party, right? You have special moves for that. And
Yeah.
you get different special moves based on whether that party member is loyal to you or fearful of you, right? Which I think is really cool. The downside is the companion AI can be so brain dead and it is such a chore to sit there and like pause, okay, Barrick, you go over here, unpause, and then 2 seconds later, or not even 2 seconds, really, if I'm being truthful, pause, okay, verse, you need to get out of melee range with your bow there.
So it's a lot of babysitting.
Yeah, yeah, and I realize the genre purists will pitch a fit because it's called real time with pause for a reason. You're supposed to pause the game and strategize. There's a difference between strategy and menial tasks.
Agreed.
And Tyranny really leans into like the menial business of like pause, unpause, unpause, unpause.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like if you were to play FF12 without gambits on, where you're just like constantly micromanaging everything your partners
Yes.
do.
Yes.
Kind of unfun.
There's Yeah, that's very, very apt comparison. In Pillars of Eternity 2, they have a very well thought out gambit system where you can program the companion AI and even your own character to, react to a lot of things, pull off combos, that sort of thing. In this game, there are like pre-built sets of companion AI that you can move between, but none of them are very good. None of them are very smart. So you end up having to like constantly fiddle with them and tell them, how to move up a ramp and stuff like that, which just becomes frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds like you're babysitting.
The real lowlight of this game, I have to say, and this is something I complained about last episode, is that the writing, a lot of the dialogue is so insufferably modern, flippantly edgy in that Game of Thrones kind of way.
Oh, great.
Where everyone's just so excited to say, shit, for example.
Yes.
Or to talk about blood and gore.
People are walking in their hallways with their flasks of wine, talking about how they're going to kill someone. I don't know.
Walking around buck naked.
Excrement, sex, that sort of stuff. And it's just very childish. It's not.
I'm here to get some shit done.
Yeah. Well,
and fuck.
One of the companion characters, when she gets a critical hit in combat, she says, "I'll pull your skeleton out your ass." And
it's my favorite Sansa Stark line.
Yeah, and she's a rogue, so she gets crits all the time, right? So it's like a constant stream of, "I'll pull your skeleton out your ass. I'll pull your skeleton out your ass." And it's so annoying.
Does she ever pull a skeleton out of anybody's ass?
Not that I'm aware of. And yeah, I don't know.
What a
It's
waste.
just like one of the characters just delights in talking about, "Oh, I'm such a hard ass. I'm such a hard ass." It's like, okay, whatever, man. Like, could you please just shut up? The story of the game starts out with a really interesting premise where, you're kind of a Judge Dredd for this like evil overlord that's more or less already conquered the world, and you're here to help stamp out the last bastion of rebellion, right?
Yeah.
And like by the end, it's just a chosen one plot. You're the chosen one. Do with that what you will. The premise is kind of that you're an agent of this overlord who's ruled the world for centuries now. And you've been brought up in this society that is basically completely devoted to the glory of the overlord, unquestioning loyalty, and you're, in particular, as an individual, an agent of that society's justice system, right? So obviously, you're presumably quite indoctrinated into this way of thinking. But by the end of the game, when everyone realizes, "Oh my god, you're the chosen one," they just start like railroading you to be like, "Yes, I will rebel against the evil overlord, and I will be, the good king," and all that.
So they force your hands.
Well, kind of. That's how the game originally was. Playing it years later, they patched in an option to be loyal to the overlord.
Okay.
But it's more like, everyone around you is like, "Oh my god, you can be the chosen one. You can stand up to the overlord." And then at the very end, you can just say, like, as your final act, your final dialogue selection, "I love Kairos!" and that's that, and you get like a little 5-second snippet of the overlord deciding that you will be useful to keep around and a good boy after all.
That kind of reminds me of how Bethesda begrudgingly changed the Fallout 3 ending, where
Yes.
you let Fox do it for you. And they just
Yes.
said, "Hey, you dumbass, it's not for you." I don't like the sound of that.
Yes, it's very similar. And, that's the end of the game. And the ending slides, there's like a very brief narration based on whether you are loyal or not to the overlord. But the vast majority of the ending slides aren't even narrated, which shocked me.
They don't want to pay for the voice actor.
Yeah, I mean, they have a very nice voice actress voice most of the other narration. It's like, could you not have had her in the studio for a couple more hours just to read a few paragraphs?
They get cheap on those things.
I guess so. This was definitely a lower budget game.
Yeah, I was playing some Disgaea DLC the other day because I'm a degenerate, and none of the DLC is voiced. And I'm like, oh, I see. So that's where they skimped the money from.
Mm-hmm. Sounds about right.
Yep. You gotta pay them their dues. So,
Mm-hmm.
but so overall, I say you feel kind of mixed about this.
Yeah, I really liked the world and the setting, where it's this idea that the presentation of power and the appearances of power and the airs we put on are basically inseparable from the actual power that person or thing wields. So there are these, artifacts that have incredible powers because people believe they do. And over time, that legend has become reality. And the same thing applies to people who have become, renowned for these deeds. Suddenly they take on, mystical powers related to that, right?
Mhm.
And, it's speculated that the Overlord is the Overlord because everybody agrees she's the Overlord, right? And I think that's kind of a that's a concept with a lot of potential in our society, in particular these days. But they're so like wrapped up in the lore of it and explaining the lore to you, and there's so many characters who will just belabor the point of like the lore, the lore, the lore, the lore. And it's like I wish they would just, let me just play in this world instead of explaining it to me and kind of railroading me to be the chosen one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like a bummer.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good game overall. If you're into RPGs or CRPGs in particular, definitely play it. But don't go in expecting the next big thing, because you will be disappointed.
So, Cheston, how about you? What have you been up to?
I'm glad you saved me for last because I have like nothing. But
I guess maybe I should
yeah,
have went last. Sucks to
yeah,
go different, huh?
yeah, it does. Yeah, grouchy mood coming back to bite me apparently.
I guess so.
Yeah. More of the same as last time, really. I've been playing, finished another episode of Sam and Max. I am plugging away at Dragon Quest, which seems like an 80-hour game.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm in there. I'm getting places. I got a boat,
Yeah, you got a boat.
and I've got a pretty big party now.
You
So,
finally completed most of your party. You still got one more, but that will be quite a ways away.
well, that's okay. Pretty into that right now, but it's a long journey, so really don't want to sit here and talk about it right now because there's going to be plenty of opportunities to talk about it, I'm sure.
Well, what do you think so far? Just your brief thoughts.
I mean, I think it's amazing. I think it's a great game.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice, fun adventure with a lot of exciting moments. I like that every town is like its own little condensed story. It's a nice JRPG to jump in and out of because it does a good job telling you what you were doing before when last you played. And then it usually wraps up its little narrative loops within a play session, so it never feels like you're just aimlessly wandering between chapters.
Okay.
Which is nice for me, so I like that quite a bit, and I just think it's delightful. But like I said, I got a long ways to go, so
You do.
Yeah,
You do
should-
have a ways to go.
should wait on anything else in regards to that.
Well,
Who
what
knows?
about A Way Out? You were playing that last time we spoke.
That was the other thing I was going to talk about, because I talked about it very briefly last time, since you were playing It Takes Two, which is the other cooperative game by Joseph Ferris. I was playing A Way Out with my wife, which is on Game Pass. It's a bit older, I think 3 years old. It's about two convicts escaping prison because they both think they were wrongfully imprisoned, and both coincidentally have it out for the same guy who's not in prison. And it starts out as a very, I don't know how to put it, like the first few scenes I wasn't feeling it. It was a little bit like a cooperative Heavy Rain, just kind of a lot of walking and going up to NPCs and getting in quick time battles. But as the game has continued to unravel and we've come back to it, it has become this amazing palette onto which Joseph Ferris has just painted every possible co-op scenario you could think of. And every single one of them, at least for the last few hours, has just been so fun for so many different reasons. You escape prison, but at the first 2 hours of the game are in prison. You do lots of sneaking around a laundry room. You put your partner in a basket and cover them with sheets. And then your partner has a mechanic where they have to keep the sheets over their head, which is a lot of fun because your partner might be goofing around and just playing peekaboo with the blanket, as one does.
Of course.
which is silly, a lot of silly fun. There's one where you're like going back to back, climbing up a big cliff type thing, and you have to time it together. So you're counting down so you can make your steps at the same time. And if you fail that, which you inevitably will because somebody will get too far ahead, you get to watch your characters plummet in a really funny way. I think this game is just the most fun cooperative game I have played in so long because it is just so creative at every turn. It never feels like you're just doing the same thing again. Honestly, it doesn't feel like any cooperative game I've played in a long time. It kind of reminds me of, you know, that part in Uncharted 2, Derek, not Setzer, that part in Uncharted 2 where you're breaking in the very beginning, the heist.
Yes.
No, I don't actually.
You should play it. It's a good game. I don't care what people say about the heist scene. It's alright. So, the heist scene is very guided. It's supposed to teach you the basics of the stealth mechanics in the game. And so you have another guy who's kind of quipping at you to do stuff. And you do a lot of stealth type things you would do in a game, like you take the guy on the left, I'll take the guy on the right. Okay, now you do this while I watch guard, and all these things. But in this game, you're both controlled by a person, so you're having to coordinate these things without the game interfering. And so it leads to a lot of fun moments together where you're trying to plan, like, okay, you take the guy on the left, you take the guy on the right. Don't get too close because you'll trigger him and he'll turn around and, shoot us. And of course, inevitably, you fail at least once or twice, and then you can play the blame game with each other.
It sounds like during those like E3 press conferences where they have like people fake talking to each other. It sounds like a real version of that.
I mean, kind of. It's definitely not as serious because I'm never serious when I'm playing this game. In fact, I'm like the worst partner for this game because at some point when you get out of the prison, the game really opens up in terms of its environments.
It's like Oblivion.
Yeah, kind of like Oblivion. Or like Final Fantasy X when you get to the Calm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. So I'm on the Calm and I'm like breaking into this homestead. And there's these elderly people who you lure out of their house by letting their horses go free, as one does. And so they go run off after their horses, and you're supposed to like just get in and out of their house real quick. You're trying to get clothes so you can get out of your prison clothes, and you're trying to take their truck so you can drive. And you're supposed to be, again, very quick about this, like it would in real life if you were breaking into a homestead on the Calm by letting people's horses go.
Yeah.
And so my wife is going in and she's changing clothes and she's like zipping around like, hey, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go. But I am walking around every room and looking at the pictures and going, oh, nice family. And, oh, the TV's on, so I'm going to sit my character in the chair and watch the TV for a minute. Or, oh, there's a horseshoe game by the car, so I'm going to play horseshoes real quick while you, do real important stuff. And this drives my wife crazy.
Yeah, they have stuff like that in It Takes Two also.
That's great.
Yeah.
And she's like role-playing the situation, but I'm just being a jackass. My favorite one is there's a very emotional scene where one of the characters reunites with his son, and his son just learned that he was a fugitive. Somehow that was kept hidden from him. I'm not really sure how, but either way, his son just learned he's a fugitive, and so they're having this moment, and they're having this great bonding talk, and eventually they're like, hey, you want to shoot hoops? And so it's supposed to be this great father-son bonding scene, playing basketball. But of course they invite the other player to play too, because otherwise you'd just be sitting around playing darts with the guy's wife. You join them in the basketball game, and you're supposed to, like, play basketball, and my wife's role-playing. She's passing the ball to the kid and letting the kid shoot, and I am just zipping around between them, blocking the ball from getting passed between them, and then dunking over the kid and playing keep away with it. And it's got some, like, emotional music in the background, and clearly this is not how it's been to be played. But God, I loved it so much. Every second.
That kind of tomfoolery I can endorse.
It's probably the most fun I've had with a co-op game. I think what I really like about it is that I'm so used to having played a lot of co-op games over the past few years. I feel like there's kind of a template for what can be a co-op game. Like platformers can be co-op games, and little things like Overcooked.
Puzzle games.
Very simple, like puzzle-based objectives can be cooperative games. But you don't see a lot of companies doing non-shooter action adventure type things. Like you're a shooter, you're a platformer, or you're a puzzle game, and if you're not cooperative. But this is very clearly in that space. It's almost like a cooperative. I mean, it's much lighter than this, but like a cooperative prestige game, a cooperative Last of Us type thing or a cooperative Uncharted type thing. Not nearly as high of a budget and not nearly as complex of mechanics, but definitely a very similar story-based vibe, and it's just so fun. It makes me wish that other studios with bigger budgets would approach their games with cooperation in mind, because I think you could do a lot of cool things with that if you were a, say, Naughty Dog.
Aha, but they won't try anything cool. You know that
They
already.
won't, but I want to say that Ghost of Tsushima has a cooperative mode.
I think it does, but I have not tried it.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know that that one is kind of what I'm going for. But I'm picturing like Uncharted 4, with you and the brother. You could
Yeah.
certainly do a lot of cool stuff with that. I don't think it would be that negative for the gameplay experience. I think you could still have a lot of fun.
They should try something like that. That'd be good. It'd be a refreshing change of pace.
Yeah, well, maybe. Either way, at least this guy's making these games.
Yeah, he's a nutball, but I love
He even
him.
casts his brother as one of the main characters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because one of the characters I said, that looks like the director of this game. That looks like the crazy guy from the VGAs. And so I looked it up and I found out that it wasn't him, it was his brother, whose name is, I'm not kidding, Ferris Ferris. He has the same first and last name. He has Mario syndrome.
Very impressive.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I
Those
like
little
Like every detail of this game is just making me love it more and more.
I like these Ferris guys.
I
And
do
I
too.
should say for anyone listening, actually it's the Calm Lands, not just the Calm.
Oh, is it really the Calm Lands?
Yeah.
Why did you always just call it the Calm when we were kids?
See, this is getting the FF10 plot, but the Calm is what the period after you beat Sen, and where there's peace. So that when I was talking about the Calm, I was referring to the area, the time after they beat Sen. There you go.
So what are the Calm Lands?
It's the final battleground where people fight Sen usually. Summoners.
Wait, I thought that was the
traditionally.
big open field.
That is the big open field.
Oh,
Traditionally, summoners bring Sen to that spot and fight him there.
you
Your
don't though.
your cast of characters is too cool for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where do they take him?
They don't. I don't know if it's specific or not. You're flying around in an airship and everyone's singing a song. Then you board and you fight Sen's face. It's a pretty wacky game.
You mean you fight Jecht's face?
No, you fight Sen's face and then you fight Jekt on the inside. If you don't beat Sen's face in like 5 turns, he shoots you with a beam and kills you.
All right,
So there you go. There's your FF10 factoid of the day.
that was a fun fact.
Don't you feel enlightened?
A little bit.
Yeah. It sounds like, given how much you enjoy this, you would definitely like It Takes Two.
I can't wait to play It Takes Two. I think that sounds amazing.
We're at the end of that, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it seems like that might have a better story. This one has a story, and I will admit that my wife and I have somewhat become invested in the story, but it's not a great story. It's just, I mean, it is what it is. It's a break out of prison, and we're gonna get revenge on this guy plot.
The It Takes Two stories feels like a Disney style story to me, where it's like it has moments of sadness and moments of like goofiness, and it's all over the place. So it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. All right, well, I guess that'll do it for what we're playing. So, Setzer, let's get on to the news. I understand that it's a not very busy week.
Yeah, not a whole lot to read off the docket this week. That being said, the NPD Group's Matt Piscatella writes that Sony's PlayStation 5 has become the fastest selling console in US history, in both unit and dollar sales. Derek, how's it feel to be trendy?
Oh man, I'm pretty cool, you guys. Got that PlayStation. All the ladies love me now. It's pretty sweet. I'm not at all surprised. It's the fastest selling console in history. You can't get it anywhere, ever. It sells out in seconds, probably because bots are buying it left and right and selling it on eBay, but it's still impossible to find. I guess it's a little surprising because I kind of thought the Wii would have this title forever because it was like 2 whole years of not being able to find it. But Hey, good for Sony, I guess. On a personal level, I do not like my PS5 as much as I like my Series X, but that's okay.
Fanboy,
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 I know that's the vaccine talking, but
kill him. Put his head on a pike.
but I like what they do for old games better, and I like I can play 360 games on my new fancy console, so it's and quick resume is the best feature ever implemented in any console ever. So I like my Series X currently, but there's always time to turn it around. PlayStation.
Well, speaking of what Sony does for old games, Game Rant's Rory Young writes that the C-bomb design flaw present in the PS3 and PS4 has in fact been inherited by the PS5 as well. When the
Nice.
console's CMOS battery dies, it will require a constant internet connection to play even offline content. Do you think Sony will have a workaround for this by the time this begins to affect the PS5?
Nope.
Me
I
neither.
think their workaround will be for you to buy a PS6.
Yep. The fact
Yep.
that this keeps happening tells me that it is not a bug, it is a feature. This is something they put in there because they want you to buy their new consoles. And I cannot endorse this. I think it is scummy. On the PS3, at least it is only digital games that are impacted by this. You can still play physical. On the PS4, and I'm going to just say probably PS5 too, it's not confirmed yet, but I bet it will be the case. Can't play disc games on PS4. So, just because it always checks online, and if it can't connect online and it syncs up with your CMOS clock or whatever, you're dead. And it sucks.
What is the life expectancy on this?
15 years.
Yikes.
So, obviously we'd probably be on PS7 by then. But it's still, it's
doesn't
crappy.
matter.
No, it doesn't matter at all. It's
Mhm.
like I give Apple shit for this on their phones because it feels like after 2 years your phone just degrades immediately and becomes unusable.
Shouldn't we be approaching then a time where some of those launch PS3s are gonna go
Yes.
kaput?
Yes.
Yeah.
We are.
Okay.
Well, luckily the PS3 is completely cracked open. I think all models are currently hackable. So luckily, people that want to play PS3 things can do it in an underground sort of way. It sucks. You shouldn't have to resort to piracy in order to play your games. You know what I mean?
That's why they call it the PlayStation Underground.
Yeah, exactly. It's for the hip kids, the hackers.
Just
Oh.
like Sonic Underground.
They were hinting all along that we were gonna have to crack our systems to play them after 15 years.
That's right. It took us a while to figure out that message, but we got it. My favorite, I don't know, shit post I've seen about this is like a comic of a Dreamcast saying, like, "Oh, I can't play this. My CMOS battery is dead." Haha, just kidding. What time is it? Like, yep. This digital future sucks, and I haven't. I feel like this probably impacts Microsoft too, but it's not out there, so I just don't know. It sucks.
Let's make it clear. It's more about the forced obsolescence than it is
Yeah.
the digital future, because
Yes.
your Steam library isn't gonna die if your computer breaks.
Right.
So,
Well, hold your horses.
oh no,
I would say planned obsolescence is an inextricable part of the digital future. The concepts are very much intertwined, and even your Steam library, as unthinkable as it is today, if Valve were to go out of business, yeah, there goes your Steam library.
Yeah, they've said in the past that they would send out like codes that like just make sure you can play it offline, but we will see. Hopefully, we'll never see actually. But
I was about to say, that sounds like a really big hassle for an experiment.
well, yeah, because you would have to go around the rights holders, I imagine. Fun times. It's sucky that PS4 and probably PS5 can't play discs after this. So, I mean, that's terrible.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, huh?
Yeah, feel no shame in pirating, I say.
well, I can't wait till we record this in 15 years and we can turn on Derek's PS5 and see if it works.
Well, in other PlayStation news, Bloomberg's Jason Schreier writes of another problem in the PlayStation empire. A growing discontent among the publisher's collection of studios regarding its conservative approach to game development, which greatly emphasizes the same kind of sprawling blockbuster titles that made the PS4 successful over the course of the last generation. Let me ask you this. Is there room for more than God of War?
No.
I think I speak for all of us when I say that Jason's a no good fanboy, and him talking against PlayStation is tantamount to treason.
Back in the day when people would say Sony fanboys are bad, I would be like, "Oh, come on. They're not close to as bad as Nintendo fanboys." But sure enough, it's pretty close. It's pretty
They're a different kind of fanboy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what defines the PlayStation fanboy. If you say something about Sony that they don't like, they have a list. They have a list of games they will read to you that tell you why you're wrong. This has
That's the
happened
best
since the
game ever.
PS3, so I know it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Heavenly Sword before it
Every
came out.
time someone says that Sony doesn't like smaller games, they say, "Well, what about Concrete Genie?" And I say, "I don't know what the hell Concrete Genie is."
Never even heard of it.
Why do you keep bringing that up? Shut up.
They clearly don't care about it because I've never heard about it. So,
I've never heard of it. I've seen the picture now. I know that it exists. They have a list of these games, so just so you know, if you ever say this again on a podcast, if someone listens and they're a Sony fanboy, they'll email us a list of games that tell us why we're wrong.
well, if you look at PS4 era Sony when they first came out the gate swinging, they're like, you don't have to be online to use our system. JK, 15 years. But also, we were making a list of things the fans want, and we're going to work on that list. It felt like a company that really cared about the consumer, even if it wasn't true. But it felt like they did. This Sony, this feels like they're just like, we want money. We want the prestige game dollary dues. We don't really care about any other thing else. If you don't like your sad dad games, we have a system for you. It's called the PS3, which you can only play till June.
I'm gonna
Well,
I'm gonna take a different approach here, and I'm gonna say the developers may want to develop smaller games, and everybody in this room may want to play those smaller games, but there are a lot of people who are very well served by this strategy at the same time.
I agree with that, but I think developing a base requires a diversity in portfolio. And just having these stellar, huge AAA games, you're not getting that. The Last of Us 2 is going to keep people, like, you're going to bring everyone in. But stuff like Parappa that's for the hardcores. They're gonna come for that. And I feel like you're losing some of those people if you don't have those games.
Yeah, you may lose some, but I think the brilliance of the Sony strategy is it's kind of split the difference between the casual and the hardcore game
Oh
in a
yeah.
lot of ways. God of War in particular, and The Last of Us too, I believe. They have mass appeal, but on the surface at least, they're no Wii bowling.
True.
They're no Bing Bing.
They are video games.
Yeah, they play like them,
They play like them,
right?
even if they have a billion hours of cutscenes. But Metal Gear Solid
Right.
4 did too. So what can you
Right.
do?
And I think that's kind of what they're getting at here is tons and tons of people love these games. I don't, but tons of people do, and I'm sure that for every person who would have bought a PlayStation to play Gravity Rush 3 versus
Yeah.
Turbo.
Yeah, of course. Alpha.
Yeah, everyone who would have bought a PS5 for that, there are probably 10 people who would buy a PS5 for God of War 2.
Well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And they'd be just as excited.
I just
Yeah.
like having options.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
My point would be more that is a good strategy for now in this moment. But
Mhm.
will it always be that way? Are they going to be nimble enough to move on to the next thing when God of War and Last of Us are longer in the tooth and maybe not the preeminent franchises they are now? Or maybe they will remain that way. There's no way to tell. I think my main thing is I think it's always helpful to have a lot of guns in your holster.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It never hurts to have a lot because you never know what the next big crazy trend is going to be. And that's kind of what worked out for them with the PS3 era is they had a lot of different guns in their holster, and one of those was Uncharted in the Prestige game, and they found out that that worked pretty well for them, and they based a whole system around it. So it's helpful to have other studios there that aren't just churning out these games because you just never know where this industry will go next.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, PS4 proved they can revitalize an old IP like God of War, and they can create a new IP like Zero Dawn,
True.
Ghosts of Tsushima. I was about to say that other one, but Ghosts of Tsushima.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we can only hope that they do more of that. It's too early to say. The PS5 is less than a year old, and only Derek has one. So maybe
only
at
man
some
in the
point
world.
they'll
The
come up
only-
with something else. The
Yeah.
article is distressing to hear them talk about remaking The Last of Us, because at some point it starts to sound like, you know, we hope you like The Last of Us, because that's the only franchise we seem to care about. That and Uncharted and God of War, which is distressing.
That immediately set me off because Last of Us came out, I think, in 2013.
It did.
And it has a PS4 remaster. Didn't change a lot, but it's currently playable on your PS5 as a result. Last of Us Part 1 still looks pretty good, in my opinion. It doesn't look bad.
Doesn't look bad enough that it needs a remake.
No, like I would say, just make something new. You don't need to remake this game. It's there are many PlayStation 1 era games that could use your love and affection. This is you don't need to touch this yet, in my opinion. The Days Gone head dev said recently that Sony gives a major shit about Metacritic. That's their bread and butter.
I mean, obviously.
Yes, yes, I know it's obvious, but
Yeah,
Their,
who
their
doesn't
games are
these
designed
days?
to their games are designed to boost their Metacritic. So
and I yes, Setzer, indeed, who doesn't? But they're saying like the reason Days Gone didn't get a sequel is because it didn't Metacritic that well.
I'll tell you who doesn't care about Metacritic.
Who?
Yuji Naka.
No, he doesn't.
He clearly does. He has already removed the Ball and Wonderworld demo.
What? No.
They took the demo down, so you have to buy the game to see how bad it is.
Oh, it was a classic.
Can I re-download the demo if I downloaded it before?
Probably not. Probably like
It's-
PT.
It's still in my library.
They could sell your Switch for like $600 because they got the Wonderland demo on
I
it.
had the Xbox demo.
Ugh.
I'm not insane.
Oh, I have the Switch demo. Yeah, maybe when the Switch Pro comes out, I could try to sell my Switch with Ball and Wonderland demo on it. See if I can get some cashola. Just kind of sad. I play these games like well after their release date. I do not buy them for full price, nor will I ever. So,
Amen.
but what can you do, huh?
Yeah, I like
This-
Uncharted.
This
It makes
industry
me
ain't for
sad
us
to hear
anymore.
that. It makes me sad to hear that they're working on another Uncharted. Ironically, it really feel like they kind of ended that series once in Uncharted 3, and I was happy then, and then they ended it again in Uncharted 4, and I was really happy then. So
Well, it was nice when Naughty Dog worked on Crash on the PS1, and then on PS2 they worked on Jack. But it's been 3 generations of Uncharted and Last of Us.
then they hit a big bump on the PS3, and they became
Yeah.
too successful, and Sony saw that and just made them churn out Uncharted and Last of Us alternating forever
So
into
really,
the future.
the PS3 ruined everything.
Yeah, but let me tell you, I don't want those people to touch another Jack and Daxter after some of
No.
the things I've read.
No,
Keep your
you
filthy
don't.
hands off my
I've
platformers.
seen pictures I can't unsee.
Yes.
So before we leave Sony, let me get on to my Sony thing I was going to complain about earlier.
Just, real quick,
Yeah.
just as an aside, if they do make a new Uncharted, or when perhaps, how long do you think it'll be before Nathan Drake gets his head bashed in with a golf club?
Oh,
I swear to God.
yeah, that's the wrong series for that. It better never
Yeah.
happen.
Well, one, shouldn't bring Nathan Drake back. I will be pissed anyways. And also, I should add, if they make one, I'll probably buy a PS5 just to play it. But still, I'll be mad about it the whole time.
I would suspect it would be like Nathan Drake's daughter. That should
I don't
be-
really want that
she
either.
gets to see him get his head bashed in with a
Yeah,
golf club.
exactly.
It should be Chloe or his brother,
You know it's not going to do that.
or maybe the Adventures of Sully as a youth.
Now that I'm down for. He's got that mustache. I want to see if he's
There we
always
go.
had it. You got to wash that taste of Marky Mark playing Sully on the big screen out of my mouth.
You could have some fun in the 70s.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, a period piece Uncharted would be great.
Would
Yeah.
be.
I'm sure this one is just another dour. Oh, Nathan Drake's coming out of retirement again. Oh,
It's one final ride.
Indiana Jones 5 is starring Harrison Ford again. So, bringing out the old corpses is the way to go. Questionable, I say.
yeah. Remember when he got on the other end of that blow dart
Yeah,
and
I
blew
remember.
it the other way?
I remember. Indy's not allowed to kill people anymore.
It's
It's a
crazy.
different year.
Remember when Shia LaBeouf saw Harrison Ford get his head caved in?
I do.
With a golf club?
I do.
Yeah, he wiped out the USSR for it.
I'll give you $5 if they kill Nathan Drake, period. So,
Okay. I don't think they will. It's not the right franchise to do that in.
no, it's not.
Onto my bitching about Sony some more. And this really may not even be Sony's fault.
I'd like to blame them anyways, just to get the ire of the fanboys.
So let me put this in a way Setzer will understand. So let's say you're playing Monster Hunter and you make it to the top of low rank, right? You're maxed out, but you can't get into high rank or improve your gear at all without playing a side gotcha mode. That's like you gotta draw like packs of I don't know, Rathalos scales or something.
That's how Monster Hunter already works, man.
What?
You're already drawing random
well, yeah.
skills and shit.
Well, yes, but I
Random
mean
charms,
that's
random
part of the game. I'm saying like there's like a separate mode where
Oh, okay.
like you get EXP, you earn like booster packs, and the booster packs have I don't know random monster parts in them. You can't choose what monster you get, just random monster parts. But that's the only way you can advance in a high rank. Wouldn't that suck?
Yes, it would.
Yes. So MLB The Show has a mode called Road to the Show, which is the only reason I play these games. This is the only sports game I play. This year, this is a new feature to the game. You cannot advance. Well, you can advance to the major leagues, but you can only get your stats to a certain point before they get locked. Like you can't advance them any further without engaging with their gotcha mode, which involves trying to get the user to buy booster packs and apply them to your baseball player. You cannot improve your characters through on-field play like you say you could in real life. You improve them via booster packs as a takeoff of the popular FIFA Ultimate Team mode.
You should mention that Road to the Show is basically a baseball RPG.
Yes, Road to the Show is a baseball RPG. You take a minor league player and play. It's completely offline. There's supposed to be no interaction with anyone else. But you play from a minor league to a major league. You play his career. They have changed that, and they want you to interact with their microtransactions because I guess they're not making enough money. And this infuriates me. I'm like, I think FIFA players have ruined sports games for everyone. Like Sony saw the money they were making, and like we gotta
I
make
want to
these.
look at this. I want to look more into this because I'm convinced it was actually the NBA games that started this. So, FIFA definitely shame, but I'm pretty sure that all of this microtransaction nonsense, this making sports games less and less for the casual sports fan and more for the weirdos that obsess over every last second of each of these games and each of their teams and all this stuff, like, and then like totally trying to suck the marrow out of those people. I'm pretty sure that started with 2K, and then EA took it because of course they did, and then it was only a matter of time before MLB was stricken by the same.
But the way
bug.
fans spin it is that you can technically earn all these cards and stuff, sort of normal play. Of course,
Yeah,
it takes hundreds
play
of hours. Exactly. So, but the option there is like you grind to get your stuff over hundreds of hours, or you pay to get it a little quicker. So, I hate this business model, and it infuriated me because this is the only sports game I play, and is the one mode in the one sports game I play. So, I was looking forward to Tuesday because I was going to download it on Game Pass, give it a try, Rooney, and now I'm like, why bother? Why bother? So I'm just playing FF14.
They have, it used to be that a lot of people played these sports games, but there's always those people that just played those sports games. And once we got to these connected systems, they realized that they could really make a business model that works based on only the people who only play this one specific game. And MLB The Show is a game like that, so I think it was just a matter of time before they looked and said, listen, we can make our money selling it to Derek, who plays our weirdo RPG mode by himself,
Yes, that's
and
all.
never touches anything else.
I would spend hours just playing by myself, no interaction with anyone, just like putting on a
Absolutely. Or
podcast and pitching like as a closer, one inning at a time. Like this is so much fun. I can turn my brain off, and now it's gone. It's
or
gone.
we could totally focus on those weirdos that are just freaks and don't mind being fleeced to buy booster pack after booster pack to try and get Yoan Moncada on their team. and and maybe we can get those people, those weirdos like Derek, to come over to our mode, and maybe they'll find that they too like the sticky ichor of our little microtransaction pyramid.
Sticky ichor. Very
It's
nice.
gross, man.
NBA 2K players, I hate you. I
They're
hate
killing
you like
sports games. They've killed them.
I hate you like I hate Genshin
These were my
Impact
favorite.
players.
This used to be my favorite genre.
Yes.
And now I won't. I'm gonna play this game because it's on Game Pass. But now I pretty much won't touch any of them. I should be the target market. I watch sports all the time.
Yeah. So I went from being excited to play it on Tuesday to yep. I guess Square Enix gets my money. So,
What is Square Enix doing?
I'm playing FF14 until
Oh,
until Nier
my
comes out,
God. Ugh.
Based.
Hey,
and Nier comes out Friday, so it's not a long stint.
yeah. Speaking of sticky ichor, so I have to complain about one thing in Dragon Quest.
Okay.
Okay, so there's that mass tournament,
Yeah.
which is
Mhm.
great. It's probably one of the coolest things ever. I loved it so much. I especially loved that Sarah I don't think has ever seen me play an RPG
Mhm.
because I played everything else on the Switch. And so when she watched my character getting his ass beat when it wasn't his turn, she turned around and said to me, "You're really not this bad at video games. What's going on? Why are you just like taking it?" And I had to explain how turn-based RPGs work. But anyways, the whole storyline there is that there's this guy, Vincent Vanquish, who's like the hero of the town, basically like the All Might of the town.
Yes.
And he fights for the kids in the orphanage, because he was in the orphanage when he was a kid.
The good baby.
And so he dedicates his life to fighting for the orphanage and winning them money. And then you find out that actually what he's been doing, he's been kidnapping all of the other contestants over the years and giving them to a spider who juices them for this liquid that gives him strength. And then he gives Vincent some of the side juice to like bolster his strength so he can continue to win these tournaments for the kids in the orphanage. And this is a pretty serious crime, I think, like mass kidnappings and like I think murder at some point, possibly. But they just totally handwave this guy's crimes. Like they go like the old guy in your party just goes up and kind of pats him on the head and goes, "Well, you were doing it for a good reason." And I kept waiting for them to like take this guy out on to the stockades or whatever Dragon Quest jail is. And instead, you have this little showdown at the end where you fight him without his ichor that strengthens him, and you kick his ass because he sucks now. And he walks away. I kept thinking like he's going to turn around and tell them what a criminal he's been and what a fraud. And then the crowd chants his name. They go, "We love you, Vincent!" And they chant his name, and he walks off with a tear in his eye. And I'm like, Christ, like, is this seriously, like, where is the moral compass on this game? Why is nobody, like, he should have walked out and then walked right into a prison.
You're too used to your Marvel crap like WandaVision that you want your morals to be taught to you through your entertainment.
Well, I don't want my morals to be taught to me, but I just think it's a logical story arc would be that he gets punished for his crimes. He's
think.
not just like, "We love you, Vincent." It even has like an old guy in the crowd that sticks out to say that line. It is also the greatest little side story ever. I loved every second of that chapter.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's so cool. The mass fights were awesome.
I'm a sucker for fighting arcs in video games and
Oh,
anime,
it was such
so.
a good one too. Like the different costumes of the people, and like that's where you first see Jade, and Jade is awesome. It's a cool ass game.
Glad you got your full party.
Yeah, I have Jade in it now because she's great.
Well, Christopher Dring of GamesIndustry.biz writes that E3 will in fact return for 2021, albeit in a digital-only format. Hopes and dreams? Personally, I just want a more concentrated release of announcements this year as opposed to the chaos of last year.
Yes, please. I hope that the companies that aren't taking part in this, aka Sony, Square Enix, and a couple others that I don't care about, um, I hope that they kind of release their information around this time too, if they have information to release. If they don't feel pressure to make some sort of crappy showcase that I'm going to watch. Because Sony's last year, I remember being really annoyed that they even made it. We'll see. We'll see.
That's Sony's
I am
every
excited.
year. I can't remember the last time I was excited for a Sony E3 conference.
The one that they debuted Shenmue 3's on Kickstarter was pretty good.
That was a pretty good one. I used to really look forward to theirs, and then it was the one where they did the crazy theater presentations, where they kept like switching theaters, and they would have like a guy on the pan flute to introduce Ghost of Tsushima
Yeah.
for like 20 minutes of
Yeah,
him
that was messed
playing a
up.
pan flute. And that was when I realized that Sony's first party development was way up its own ass, and I couldn't be bothered to care about it anymore. But I'm pretty excited for, I mean, even if it's just digital. I'm with Setzer. I hated last summer's pattern of just some weird shotgun blast of information here and there, and you'd have Sony in June and they'd do their thing, and then Microsoft had like a little tiny thing in July, and then Ubisoft did like two things, and it just was too much. I like the 2 days of intense coverage. It can really binge out on it and get everything I need, and then be done with it for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I like the showmanship of the whole thing.
My hopes and dreams would be that Nintendo actually does something worthwhile this year.
Well, I
It's
mean,
been a while.
they should. We don't know anything about the second half of their release schedule.
Which
this
is their
year.
usual pattern, but last year they said, okay, we'll just release bit after bit of information.
Remember, also last year they didn't have a traditional direct style.
No, I
E3
know
conference,
exactly,
so-
and that was the part of the problem. So this year they should have, they're on the schedule, so they should have a actual E3 Direct, which makes me hope they'll give us something that fleshes out their year a little bit beyond Skyward Sword. I have to imagine there's something
I would
coming.
be stunned.
I mean, yes, there will certainly be something. I'd like to know what that something is. I want to know that there's not a Pikmin 4 coming, and I want to know right now.
My hopes is that Switch Pro gets announced so I can stop hearing rumors about it. It's been like 2 years of constant rumors.
I am tired of the Switch Pro rumors. My hope and dream, you can start right here. My hope and dream is Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Series S.
I think
My
that'll
hopes
happen.
and dreams are really simple at this point.
I think that'll happen.
Well, I want it now.
And finally, Arcane Studios announced via the game's official Twitter that Deathloop has been delayed into September. What other games do you expect to see delayed this year thanks to COVID?
Well,
Deathloop
Breath of the
2
Wild 2 has been in development for what, Derek? What, 7 years or whatever?
Yeah,
So,
I think I said like 25.
yeah, so
was
I
announced
expect
in the
that to be
GameCube era.
delayed for 26 years to celebrate the 25th anniversary of its development by delaying it into a 26 year.
What comes to mind for me is I think Square Enix expects Final Fantasy 16 to come out this year.
Oh, that's not happening.
I'm saying it's going to be pushed back to March 2022.
God of War was announced for this year, and that will not happen.
That there is no chance that happens.
Will not
chance.
happen. Dying Light 2
Yeah, yeah.
will always
That's a
be
no.
delayed.
Yeah, it's never coming out.
That is never coming out.
It's in the same category as Dead Island 2.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's super not coming out. Ooh, Psychonauts 2!
That's never coming out.
Delay.
Mm-hmm.
Can't trust Tim Schafer with your money. What are you thinking?
Ooh, I've got
Never.
a fun one.
Yeah.
I've got a fun one. 6 Days in Fallujah.
Oh boy. Maybe delayed out of public interest, but I think it could probably be finished if they needed it to be.
Think you can like push it a year and then hopefully it can release like quietly or something.
That's my gut because people are butthurt about this game again. I'll tell you it won't be delayed. WWE 2K22. It'll come
don't
out hell
think
or high
so?
water.
I really wouldn't have pegged Deathloop for a delay, but
No.
hey,
We're at the finish line. I think maybe it ran into a thing like where Cyberpunk did, where there's just a bunch of bugs and
you think they decided maybe they didn't want to release like Cyberpunk?
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
probably just
well,
ironing things out, or like Microsoft's like, well, actually, we're thinking about going back on our deal, but we're gonna hold off a little bit.
oh, the gunk that will not be delayed either.
What's that? Is that like
That's
Pro
the
Gunk
Steam World Dig
standalone?
people. I've explained this to you on this podcast already.
Steam World Dig. Never heard of that.
Yes, you have. I've told you to play it 1,000 times. Yeah, I don't. This year does not seem. People have been saying it's a backlog year. I think they're probably right.
Well, I mean, my Switch has gotten a lot of use so far.
Yeah, I mean,
Bravely Default 2, Monster Hunter Rise, Pokemon Snap in April.
the best thing about this generation is that if this were like last generation when there was, no backwards compatibility, when I bought my PS4, or rather, when I got my PS4 as a gift, I had it for, I think, a month, and I didn't
you
even
sold
touch it. No. That was later. I had it for a month, and I didn't even touch it until Infamous came out. And then after Infamous came out, I didn't touch it for like 6 months until I think it was Lord of the Rings, The Shadow of Mordor came out.
Mordor.
Right, and then I played Madden after that for a little bit. But you had no choice but to play what was on the system. If there was not backwards compatibility on these consoles, this would be the worst console launch ever because we'd all be playing Outriders and we'd all be sad about it.
I would have put like 200 hours into Demon Souls, so I guess there's.
That's I guess there's that, but I haven't played anything new on my Series S, nor do I plan to until Infinite probably. So.
Oh, I mean, yeah, the backwards compatibility is what has been the bulk of my time.
I'm playing Dragon Quest, a 2017 game, and playing Hitman 2. I think
but
might also be a 2017.
FF14 is coming to PS5, so maybe it'll come to Series X.
There we go.
And you can play it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's a good thing these things have backwards compatibility because otherwise, you have a lot of angry people right now.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of people who paid $500 to play Spider-Man and then have a big, giant plastic brick in their house for a few months.
Oddworld Soulstorm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're jumping out of their drawers to play that one.
Drawers.
Yeah. Right out of their pantaloons.
That'll do it for this week. You can reach us on email at alltodaypodcasts@gmail.com or on Twitter at alltodaypod. This is Derek.
I'm Setzer.
And I'm Cheston.
And we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Adios.
See you later.
So swing on by.